Hello, and welcome to the Forbes and Square Small Business Virtual Summit, refining your marketing roadmap to attract new consumers and scale. Throughout the event, you can connect with our speakers and each other via Slido. You can do so by selecting the Join the Conversation button, which can be found at the bottom right-hand side of your browser. You can access via your mobile device by scanning the QR code on screen and using the hashtag Forbes Small Business. Now, please join me in welcoming Maneet Ahuja, Senior Editor, Forbes.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so excited for this fantastic event that we have assembled for you today. I want to take a moment to echo our voice of God quickly. This event is for you. Please take advantage of this great opportunity to ask questions of our experts via Slido. We want to hear from you and want to ensure that you leave today armed with the tools that you need to succeed. Before we start our conversation, you're going to hear from Elizabeth Gore of Hello Alice. Liz is a powerhouse and is here to provide you insight on refining your business roadmap. Definitely get ready to take notes as her company, Hello Alice, helps over 300,000 owners a year. But that's only the beginning of the content that we have planned for you today. Following Liz, we'll have our expert panel conversation where we'll talk about how to refine your marketing roadmap to attract new consumers and scale.
Now, please welcome Elizabeth Gore, co-founder and president, Hello Alice.
Howdy, y'all. I am Elizabeth Gore, and it's so great to be with you. Even though we're not with you, we will be again someday. What a year, right? Who'd have thought that we were running businesses from our homes, from our closets, from our cars, caring for aging parents and children, and now what an election. I am proud of all you is where I want to start. If you're a business owner this year, it's probably the hardest year of your life. And you've been through extreme ups and downs. And I know we have at Hello Alice. But man, if anything brings me optimism, it's all of you and the pivots you've done, the difficult decisions you've had to endure. And I know that 2021 will bring kind of a better time for all of us. So let's talk about how we're going to get there. The first thing I think about is on Hello Alice, we manage to help around 300,000 owners a year. And we used to always say, launch and grow. Right now, it's okay to acknowledge that you're just surviving and thriving. And that is not the normal mindset of an entrepreneur, but it's really something we need to embrace right now. And the first way to do that is to completely erase your whiteboard. I put an image behind me of a nice clean whiteboard, and here is why. Whatever business plans you had for 2020 and 2021, you have to set them aside and rebuild. And that is whether you're in fashion, whether you're an auto mechanic, whether you're a high-tech e-commerce site, we all have to take a step back and relook at our customers. How are they buying? How are they shopping? Are they buying or shopping? We have to look at our own technology infrastructure. So if I'm a brick and mortar business, I've had to open, close, open again, maybe close again. How am I pulling all my products online? If I am a company that relies on products, my supply chain has probably been disrupted. So I know it's hard if you're a planner like I am, that you've got all these sacred plans that you put forward, you've budgeted, you've thought through, but I'm really asking you to reassess for 2021. It is very important. So erase the whiteboard and then let's talk through how do we fill it back up. So the next thing after erasing the whiteboard is really thinking about your technology. And particularly those of you who had in-person engagement, whether you're business services all the way up to a brick and mortar store, it is time to really think about investing in your technology. And I will say that we did a survey with our owners, and 54% of owners actually did spend more money in technology in 2020, even though they spent less money on just about everything else. So it does show me that as this is in the forefront of everyone's mind. Also, most people are planning and budgeting 75% to spend more in 2021. It is hard as a business owner to think about spending more money when we need to tighten our belts in other areas, but this is critical for you. So think about everything from how are you processing payments? How are you getting your marketing out? How are you selling? How are you managing your employees? Everything now in a good way has some kind of affordable software behind it. So I'm encouraging you all to really think about the investment in your technology infrastructure and in your software. If you're struggling with that, my biggest advice is to reach out to your peer business owners to really understand how they've gone through their digital transformation. The best ones are the folks who just went through it, particularly in your industry. And for those of you who might be second, third generation business owners, and you've had a very set way of doing things, maybe from your parents, or you've bought a business that has not gone through this, now is the time. The one good thing I'll tell you that everyone is going through that. So pricing, I think, is going down, which is great. And I want to stress, if you are a US veteran or a person of color, there is a lot of great discounts if you're a registered business owner in these different demographics. And I encourage you to take advantage of those. The next one is to acknowledge and prepare for change as you are filling that whiteboard back up. So how do we prepare for change? My Lord. I really believe that we're still going to have pretty extreme ups and downs as it relates to the next 18 months. And so it's a bizarre thing to make space for pivoting. But as you make your plans for 2021, you also need to really think through, I just don't know what is going to happen. If you do, you're going to be a billionaire, and call me, please. But you have to leave space. So that means leaving space with cash if you can. Diversifying. Can you go get a line of credit now that things have calmed down a little bit? Can you shave costs in other areas to, again, spend a little bit more in technology, but keep some cash behind? Other areas on how you prepare for the unexpected is if you are rehiring, which 90% of business owners right now say they will be rehiring people back or hiring new employees next year. Think about maybe that those are temporary employees versus full FTEs just now. It's a lot easier to bring in someone on a contract than fully employ them as an FTE if you're going to have to let them go again. And again, it's so weird as an owner to prepare for a dip, but we just have to right now. So really think about those spaces. It all comes down to you as an owner and giving yourself the time to assess and reprioritize a lot. We do a lot of reprioritizing. Used to, though, it was every few months. Now you need to look every week. That might be as concrete as putting time in your calendar on Friday at 2 o'clock to really look backwards in the week and say, okay, what happened this week? What do I need to change? Where do I need to pivot? So that the next week you're prepared for that. So leave literal time that is blocked, which is very hard when you're busy, but try to do that for yourself. Otherwise, you're going to be scrambling and it's going to be very difficult. The last thing I'll just say for preparing for change is try to track, hopefully a little bit more in advance, the policies that are coming down the pike. So at Hello Alice, we run the COVID-19 Business Center, covid19businesscenter.com, on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, SBA, hundreds of organizations. And it's a free resource where you can navigate the policies in your area. Are we potentially going to shut down? Is it going to be restaurants, salons? What's happening there? Is it 20% of folks can normally come in to my business? So try to track that so you can be a bit more prepared, which again, I know is a challenge, but really try to do that for yourself. The next one is being hyper-focused. So really thinking about what are you focusing on, and can you shave any extracurricular activities for the business that is costing you money, costing you time, or not bringing any revenue in? So anything that is not in your absolute core focus, my recommendation is to pause it or pull back on it. It's very important. The other thing I'll just say is being hyper-focused on your customer. And this kind of pulls in marketing as well. Customer behavior is going to be super erratic the next 18 months. So how do you be really smart about polling your customers, talking to them as much as possible, survey them. If you're very honest and authentic that, look, we're trying to serve you, we don't know what's ahead, would you mind answering some questions? that also builds a rapport and a trust. And I guarantee you they will help you. But that is the best way for you to plan. The holiday season's coming. It's a massive time for sales. Get ahead of that, do some surveys. How are you going to be shopping? Are you going to be shopping online? Would you still walk into my store if it's open? Do you want to buy on Instagram? Would you rather use, what's your trust mechanism? Be hyper focused on your customer and the behavior that they are going to have in their purchasing, please. Very important. The last thing is very personal to me. I worry about everyone right now making a lot of hard decisions in isolation. And our data has shown us that mental health, anxiety, and depression has spiked in small business owners. So reach out to people, reach out to communities, peer-to-peer networking, join our Business for All community and talk to each other. Make these decisions, but with people virtually around you. Most of all, y'all, rock it. You can do this. I'm confident of the optimism in small business owners, and erase the whiteboard, fill it back up. And I don't want to go back to normal. I want a new normal that has all of y'all leading. Thank you so much.
Before we begin our conversation, we would like for you to tell us, what marketing strategies have you utilized and would recommend to other small business owners? A, influencer marketing, B, social media, C, loyalty programs, D, ad buys, E, others. Please tell us in Slido. Now, please welcome Robin Beaman, founder and president, Beaman Incorporated, Elizabeth Gore, co-founder and president, Hello Alice, Lauren Weinberg, head of global marketing, Square, and moderator Maneet Ahuja, senior editor, Forbes.
Thank you, Juliana, for that great introduction. Okay, let's dive right in. The first question is to the whole group, but Elizabeth, I'll start with you. It's important to understand the needs of small business owners in order to help them succeed. Running a small business is already difficult, as we know, and now even harder in a pandemic where you have to transform your business at the same time. What are some pointers on how they should digitize quickly? You mentioned in your presentation that now is the time to invest in technology infrastructure and software. Can you expand upon that?
Sure. Well, again, thanks for having me, and it's a pleasure to be with Robin and Lauren as well. Thank you, Maneet. So, as we've seen, this is a time of struggle. Small business owners, we're always, as owners, usually cash poor and out of time. So I think of what's going to save us time and money. And so even though we're decreasing spend and tightening our belts, the most important thing right now is actually to utilize software as a service for your marketing, your accounting, all principles. So I highly recommend automating what you can to digitize your outreach to your customers, to your consumers, and so on. It's really important. And in fact, over 50% of you did increase your spend specifically on that software. So it might be hard right now, but it will save you time and money in the long term. So I think this is a critical thing to think about moving into 2021.
Okay. Lauren, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I would echo what Elizabeth has shared already. I would say, for example, one of the things that we offer to our small business owners right when the pandemic started was access to free email campaigns. And we saw over 235 million emails sent since March. And so this is a great way for small business owners to stay in touch with their customers. I also think social is a great way. And I would say overall, we're seeing a lot of small business owners just get really scrappy right now. They're using Zoom calls, they're doing telehealth, they're really selling over social in all the different ways. And so there's a lot of options out there today. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for small business owners to take advantage of software and also to take advantage of social platforms and tools that exist that are also free.
Lauren, a follow-up question for you, since you run marketing for Square. A marketing strategy is important for small business owners, as we well know. What questions should they ask as they start building it out?
I think the biggest question is really who are they talking to and what do they want to say? And so really getting focused on that. I know that, for small business owners, they're wearing multiple hats. There's so many things that they need to think about. Marketing can feel scary and overwhelming. I think it really starts with who are you talking to? what do you want to say? The more you know your audience and can target your audience, I think the more impactful that messaging will be. And that's a lot of how Square thinks about marketing as well. We think about, who are we trying to talk to? What do we want to say? How do we make sure that we're really differentiating ourselves and talking about what's going to be most important for your audience? So I think it starts with understanding your audience and really what's your key message.
Hmm. And how much money do they have to spend, and how much time needs to go towards this? As we know, they're cash strapped and they don't have a lot of time right now because they're wearing a lot of hats, as you said.
Yeah, so time, I think, is probably a bigger crunch for most small business owners. We do see in our research that most small business owners are decreasing their paid ad spend, but then they're able to take advantage of a lot of other tools. And so just to give a little bit more realistic tips on ways that small business owners can leverage marketing to help with their business right now, as we think about the holidays in particular, they can be encouraging their customers to purchase gift cards. We know people love to receive gift cards for the holidays. So that's one way that they can really reach out to their customers and say, you can purchase gift cards for other people for holiday gifts. They shouldn't be scared to offer discounts to customers. So I know sometimes it can feel scary offering discounts, but oftentimes discounts lead to repeat purchases. So I would say, there's definitely a time commitment. And I think now is a good time to really think about gearing up for the holidays, pre-planning some of the messages and things that you want to say, perhaps even writing some of those in advance. And there's a lot of features on social that allow for small business owners to schedule those ahead. So if they start to get really busy in the holiday season, they already know what they want to say. They have their communications plan. They've thought about whether they want to offer gift cards or discounts or other solutions that would appeal to consumers during the holiday.
And Robin, for the business owners that run a service like yourself, do you have any thoughts?
For the business owner, I would say a lot of my communications or our communications with clients are on Zoom or Microsoft Teams. So, to make sure you have the latest versions of those. And then also, Lauren had talked about social media platforms, definitely taking advantage of Instagram, Facebook, IG stories, IGTV, as well as LinkedIn, and in some cases, TikTok, to communicate to your audience, communicate to your tribe, share really important, unique, relevant information, and also take advantage of talking to your audience as well.
Mm-hmm. Elizabeth, email marketing can be one of the most powerful tools in an entrepreneur's toolkit. A small business expert recently told me that just $1 spent on email marketing typically delivers around $40 in dividends. How should small business owners think about and leverage this to increase their customer reach?
Sure. So email marketing is still king. I mean, if you have authentic emails, a lot of people discount it behind social when in fact the click-through rates are higher. My advice is to be very authentic and think about your customer when you're emailing them and ask questions. So instead of doing a direct ask or sales pitch, how about ask them how they're doing and how your company can serve them through this pandemic, or do surveys within that email so they're clicking through to their website. A lot of people actually want to be supported right now. And of course, you're going to have your products at the bottom of that email, but really think of your opening of, how are you, customer? How are you doing? How can we help? How do we best serve you? Authenticity right now, combined with email and surveys and asking versus selling, is really the way you want to move forward. Also, don't shy away from highlighting your customers in those emails. So customer stories are awesome, particularly those who are inspiring, or maybe it's someone who's been through a lot and you're really lifting them up as a shining example of your customer set. So be authentic, ask versus tell, and then really lift up customer stories.
That's great advice. Robin, have you used that in your business?
Sorry, couldn't hear. Say that. Have you
employed email marketing as one of your key tactics for your business?
We have not used it in my business, but we use it with clients because we find it is an excellent way to get information out about new products, new launches, new programs, and also we see that it also drives sales as well for our clients.
Oh, that's great. So following up with you, Robin, you've built some of the biggest media brands and personalities in the business, from my personal idol, Oprah Winfrey, to BET founder Robert Johnson, and have worked with top tier brands like HBO, Comcast, and even the White House. But every brand and business starts somewhere. What are some key foundational tools you employed working with these powerhouse names that may be able to translate to the small business owner?
I think certain things that we have to do. One is what makes you unique, what makes you special, and understanding what value you add. So when you talk about Oprah or Nike or Cardi B or Mercedes Benz, there's certain things that come to mind when you say those names. They're unique. Mercedes Benz is different than any other car. Cardi B is different than other individuals. So there's special gifts that we have. We have to understand what those gifts are, what makes us special, and what value we bring. We also have to identify like, what are the 3 words that describe who we are? Whatever those words are we powerful? Are we trustworthy? Are we a leader? Are we a thought leader? Whatever words describe our business, we have to make sure that everything that we do, from public speaking to online, whatever we do has to support what our brand is. The other thing I would say is work on your pitch. It's important to have a pitch. In 30 seconds, you should be able to tell somebody what you do, what value you bring, and how you can help them. So that if you're out and your dream client comes up to you, you should be able to tell them confidently, this is who I am, this is what I do, and this is how I can support you. And then third, take advantage of sharing your story on every level. Start in your community. Talk to the media, podcasts, speaking engagements, use of influencers. Just start right in your hometown of building your brand, and then you can expand out.
That's great advice. So let's head back to our poll question now. I think the results are in. What marketing strategies have you utilized and would recommend to other small business owners? Influencer marketing, social media, loyalty programs, ad buys, or other? So it looks like the results are in, and social media wins by a landslide at 88%, followed by influencer marketing at 50%, loyalty programs at 25%, ad buys at 19%, and other at 6%. So good to know. Social media is the way to go, it sounds like, for a lot of business owners here today. So another question for the whole group now, but again, Elizabeth, I'll start with you. A silver lining we're seeing is that many customers want to support their local businesses. Mm-hmm. How can small business owners take advantage of this right now, where they maybe don't have the same touch points as they did pre-pandemic?
Sure. Well, at Hello Alice, our fundamental belief is that small business owners are the backbone of the United States economy, and particularly women, people of color, U.S. veterans. And what I want to make sure folks are doing is what some people would call old school, but it still works. Ensure that you are listed on your Chamber of Commerce website. Ensure that most counties have an economic development board where they also list out businesses, and then they actually categorize them by industry. There's also a ton of networks out there now that support buying Black-owned, buying military-owned, women-owned. On Hello Alice, you can navigate to those and sign your business up for those types of lists. So I really encourage you to think about what are those tools that are free, but they are listing you, because folks are seeking those out, which I love. And just make sure that those are digital. Some communities, Rotary, Lions Club, civic clubs are really about promoting small business right now. So just ensure that you look those up in your local community. And then finally, great companies like Square and others are doing an awesome job of lifting up small business. So look at programs with the business services that you use and see if they're telling your story as well, or listing you on their website. So these are free services. It might take you a little bit of time, but really ensure that you are mining those lists and ensuring you're on them.
Mhm. That's a great point. Robin, you said on our call yesterday you had a similar good experience by engaging with some of your local civic organizations. Can you share that story?
I did, yes. Here in Chicago, there's a group called the Women Business Development Center, and they partnered with Nicor Gas and decided to help small businesses learn how to pitch their business better. And so they had a free program. You could come out, they would bring in a videographer and a specialist. You would come to a session, um, share your pitch, they would give you feedback, and then the next month they want you to come back and pitch to NICOR executives. And so I did that. It was a great program. They actually then turned it into a competition. And I went and presented myself, and individuals came up to me and said, "Hey, we love your business. We love what you're doing. We'd love to work with you." I also won like second place, which was great. And the second place was a master service agreement for 3 years. And
Wow.
so just 3 weeks ago, I signed a contract with them, and it's a multi-year contract. And so I'm ecstatic about it. But to Elizabeth's point, there are a lot of organizations, business associations that are offering all kinds of ways to support small businesses. And so it's up to us to just do the research and find out, who's offering what. It didn't cost me anything but time. And look what I gained. I gained a great client.
That's great. And it's a multi-year agreement. So those are
Yes,
really hard to come by. And
very much
Lauren,
so.
yeah, Lauren, to Elizabeth's point earlier, I think also on our call, you said that Square was engaging with small business customers, right, for their marketing efforts. And you had a similar story.
Yeah, I would say that. And I would also agree with what Elizabeth said, which is we've created customer directories so that consumers who are looking to support local businesses purchase gift cards. So this is something that Square business owners can opt into. And we've tried to make it very discoverable. So you can go to your local town and you can search by your zip code and see which businesses are have gift cards available in your community. So that's a great way, I would say, an opportunity for small businesses that they can take advantage of with Square and probably with other companies as well. And then I would say, yes, we've used the stories of our small business owners when the pandemic first hit. We really focused on what are the things that we can do to really help people, mostly thinking about what are solutions, things like curbside pickup and delivery. But the other thing is that we know people really want to feel like they're part of a community and hear how other people are getting along right now. And so we created an organic stories campaign that was running on our social channels where we had small business owners calling in to a voicemail line, telling us their stories. And the stories were so inspirational and really just showing how resilient small business owners are. And then we took that idea and blew it into a brand campaign where we featured 6 small business owners. And one of our small business owners actually spoke at a Forbes conference earlier this year and also got featured in the local news after being a part of our campaign. So whenever those opportunities arise, I would say similar to what Robin said, it always takes time. It takes time for a business owner to get out of their everyday routine and make time for interviews and make time to think about promoting their business. But I would say whenever the time is available, it will be time well spent.
Yeah, that's a good point because a lot of business owners are just in the day to day and they're just trying to get their customer orders filled and figure out their supply chain issues, et cetera. But looking ahead, an opportunity like this could pay incredible dividends, as we saw with that example. So that's just something good to keep in mind, especially as corporations are looking to engage and try to help the small business community. So Lauren, a follow-up question for you. What are some digital and marketing tools that you're seeing Square customers having the most success with right now?
I think one of the areas that we're seeing customers have the most success with is just taking their business online. So we talked about this a little bit earlier, whether that's through Zoom or social selling. But for example, I think the restaurants that are part of Square's network, the ones that quickly pivoted to create an online store and to be able to offer pickup and delivery. And now we're also offering self-serve ordering with QR codes. These businesses are really, I think, thriving during the pandemic. The other example is businesses that created an online store. So again, a little bit of a burden in terms of the time spent to create that, but we have an example of a business in our network. It took them 3 days to create their online store, but within 1 month, 40% of their sales were coming from their online store. And then they also were able to really increase the distribution of their email list and to let their customers know. I think back to either Elizabeth or Robin's point, like consumers are struggling today too. And so I think business owners that are really thinking about how they meet their customer needs and maybe let them know that they're now offering delivery or curbside pickup. There's a lot of unknowns, especially in a pandemic. And so business owners letting their customers know when they're open, how customers can get access to their products and services is probably the thing that we've seen the most successful businesses within our network at Square and how they're really adapting and thriving right now.
And to your point, a recent report from the Connected Commerce Council did say that the small businesses that leaned in heavily to digital tools at the onset of the pandemic saw 400% more revenue than the ones that didn't. And I know like the data is very early so far, but time will tell how that plays out in the coming months. I think we've seen a big wave of small businesses adapt online. And as a personal consumer, also to your point, I have struggled with trying to find, my local small businesses and figure out their updated hours of operation and how to get, the services and products that I used to get. So I think that's definitely something that consumers can resonate with.
Yeah, and I would add also that although there's a lot of businesses that have taken that step, there's more that have not. And so we just did some research and there's still a lot of businesses that are waiting. 43% of small business owners that we surveyed said that they were waiting until 2021 to make any changes to their business. So although we have seen some make this change and it has been very fruitful and productive for them, there's still a lot that have yet to make the change. And so I would say that would be one of my big takeaways is look for those opportunities I think you can start small, but being able to really offer your products and solutions online today is something that I think will be very useful during the pandemic, but also provide additional revenue streams after the pandemic.
That's a great point. Elizabeth and Robin, what are some strategies that small businesses can use to keep people talking about their brands in the middle of a pandemic, right? People are focused on very serious health concerns, but at the same time, the economy still needs to keep moving. What are some strategies that you'd recommend?
So two areas that I love, and frankly, at any time, but particularly now, is you saw on y'all's poll that you did the use of influencers. I think the most powerful ones are your very hyper local influencers. So if you have a power user of a product, a service, and so on, that is in your environment, in your town, really lift them up, ask them to tell their story. Thank them for what they're doing, highlight maybe a customer a week over social media that loves your product. I'm very into that authenticity. These are not paid individuals, even though that's fine. But I think that's a really great way to lift your customers up. They will probably then repost and tag others because they're excited to be promoted. The other thing I would just flag is I very much believe no matter how small your company is in giving back. So another thing you can do is whether it's space on your website, which it's a little bit of an opportunity cost, but maybe you can highlight a first responder or an organization that's doing a lot in your community on your website or in your social. They will then, of course, probably push that out as well, which is brand recognition and a commitment to your community. If you can give a small gift, of course, that's hard to do right now, but it's I think another way to really engage your community. So again, the 2 points are authenticity, lifting up your power customer, and then also, can you give back in some way, whether it's time, money, or advertising on your own site in your community? And I can't wait to hear Robin's ideas.
Yeah, Robin, do you have any thoughts?
I absolutely. No, I was just saying, I absolutely agree. I think the influencer marketing piece is a really key piece. Powerful resource. Like you said, you can start locally. I think also for small businesses, working with what I call nano influencers, those individuals that, from 1,000 to about 10,000, powerful resource, wonderful ways to get your message out to an audience that maybe you haven't been exposed to, whether it's a message about your product or, to Elizabeth's point, some of the organizations that you are supporting. But their influencer marketing, I think, is just a great way to build brand awareness and share what your company is doing and really staying connected to your customers and potential customers.
Yeah, but to play devil's advocate, this all sounds like it makes a lot of sense with nano influencers and hyper local influencers, but in some business owners' cases, influencer marketing isn't realistic, right?
Well, there you can be really, really creative. Sometimes there's not an exchange of money. Sometimes there's an exchange of product, or maybe they're promoting you and you're promoting them. So there's a barter situation. So I think with the nano influencers, it gives you a number of ways to be creative and how can we support each other. And I think right now in the time that we're living with the pandemic, people are open to having or creating creative campaigns to support one another.
Okay, good point. So I just have one or two more questions, and I've gotten word that we have a tremendous amount of fantastic audience questions. So we're going to shift gears. But one last question for you, Lauren. I was speaking to a small business expert that said 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your customers, which really underscores the point that you really need to know your customer, which you said right in the beginning, so you can understand your most loyal base. What are some key strategies business owners can employ to leverage customer loyalty programs?
So I would say loyalty really comes down to trust and performance. And Elizabeth alluded to this earlier as well, which is that I think today that consumers are really looking for brands to make an emotional connection with them. And so that's one way to really build trust. I also think that today there's a lot of opportunity to really up level your customer support and really think about opportunities to surprise and delight your customers in this moment in time. And so, and even thinking about what Robin just said, we were doing a program where we initially had paired essential businesses with non-essential businesses. And so we had some of our essential businesses promoting other businesses in Square's network. So I think back to Robin's point on nano influencers, there's definitely an opportunity to pair businesses and really combine that community element, especially to give your customers an opportunity for a surprise and delight moment. And then the last piece is really, I think everyone today is really wants to align around brands that support social causes. And so I think that's another opportunity for businesses to build alignment with their customers by making it clear which social causes they stand behind.
Yeah, you read my mind. That was going to be my next question. So I'll move right to the lightning round. So for our final question, let's do a quick lightning round. If you guys could give one piece of advice to small business owners as they devise their marketing strategy, what would it be? And Robin, let's start with you.
First, believe in yourself, and when you're doing outreach to your potential clients, be very focused, understand who you're reaching out to, who they are as you're reaching out to them. Customization and authenticity is key right now.
Okay. Lauren?
I would say similarly, know your audience and start small. I think marketing can feel really overwhelming, but there's little things that you can do every day. So if you know who you're talking to and what you want to say. Start small. You'll learn a lot. There's also a lot of resources that exist today, free resources like webinars and tutorial videos. Square has a ton of these on our town square. And so I would say take advantage of all the free resources that you can. Again, I know that takes time, but when there is time, take advantage of everything that you have.
Elizabeth?
I'll say ask before you tell. Survey your customers on how they want to be marketed to. That could be as simple as a focus group of 4 customers who walk into your shop with their mask on. Ask them, and or utilizing tools like SurveyMonkey or others. If you need a small grant to help build your marketing strategy, we have a grants program at Hello Alice that can certainly support you. But ask your customers, then build your strategy.
Well, that's great advice. Let's dive right into our audience questions. First question, what buzzwords can be used to enhance marketing materials when trying to raise money? Anyone want to take that one? Maybe Lauren?
Sure. So I would say free and discounts are something that definitely will always really catch customers' attention. So whenever somebody feels that they're getting some kind of value, that's a great buzzword. I think when you know your audience, you can say things that are much more personalized and tailored to them. So that would be the other thing I would mention.
Okay.
I would throw in the word local. If you are a local store, locally owned is big right now. And then if you're woman-owned, Black-owned, Latinx-owned, military-owned, people really care about that right now. So make sure that's in there.
Good. Robin?
I agree with both Lauren and Elizabeth. They nailed it.
Okay, so next question. When you have done all of your sales and marketing through word of mouth, what are some best practices to switching to an ad campaign or other software? Maybe Lauren, we'll start with you again.
Sure. So I would say think about what worked from your word of mouth and organic campaign. So knowing your audience, know what they respond to, and then really try to go from there. So you can, I think, as a baby step into paid advertising, if you are leveraging influencers and social, I would say start with thinking about boosting some of those posts. And so you can put a small amount of spend behind social campaigns to increase your word of mouth beyond your like subscribers or people that have opted in to get updates from your business. So that would probably be a good place to start. And then take what resonates in your organic, in your word of mouth, and leverage that in any of your paid strategies.
And you can do very simple A/B testing. So if you're emailing 100 people, email 50 of them one message and the other 50 the other message. See which one got a bigger response, and then go with that for the next 300 people.
How much does that cost, Elizabeth?
Well, it's within the budget that you already have, but always do dual messaging to test. And because that's the whole thing, before you spend more money, make sure that you're testing multiple messages before you pull the trigger on the whole thing.
I also, sorry, Robin.
No, I was just saying that is the beauty of social media, that you have an opportunity to test. And I think there are cost-effective ways to use Facebook, Facebook groups, Instagram to promote your business and to test messaging.
I also was speaking to a small business expert that said that there's also AI software out there that customizes the best time to send emails to customers based off of, you know, a repetition or seeing when they open an email. So one customer may choose to open their emails at 9 a.m. and another one at 5 a.m. and it'll learn that process and then send that. So I don't know what that's called, but I think that that could potentially be another good one. Next question. How do you start attracting consumers if you are a completely new business? In other words, how do you get people to discover your brand's online platforms?
So go where people are is what I would say first and foremost. And your best tool in the early days is you as a founder. So if you, again, I'm just going to go back to the Chamber of Commerce. Most chambers of commerce right now are digital Zoom meeting. Pay that $25 to join, go into that first meeting and introduce yourself and your business and ask for help. Ask if anyone would mind sending out an email. will like your pages, but find those affinity groups. On Hello Alice, we have hundreds of industry groups. We have Black and Brown founders. We have military groups. Join these groups, you as an individual, to start getting the word out.
And Robin, on our call, you had some great insights about, as the founder, being the face of your brand. Can you expand upon that a little bit?
Yes, I think it's important to really work, as Elizabeth said, like with the Chamber of Commerce, also with small business development centers. And I worked with banks. Your local bank can be helpful to you. You'll be surprised. They have a lot of different programs that help put you in front of potential clients. Also, corporations now are helping you build your business up, and also working with small business administration. Again, building those relationships and giving people an opportunity to learn your business and help introduce you to potential clients.
Okay. So next question. As a female who works with males and supports LGBTQ and biopic, how can I use my platforms as a serial infopreneur where it feels authentic rather than token? Anybody want to take it?
I'll jump into that. I'm a big believer in intersectionality. So if you're part of the LGBTQ plus community, but you're also in, let's say, the fashion industry, bringing your community with you and vice versa, I think is really important. Also, we really promote peer-to-peer mentorship, and sometimes that's based on industry. Sometimes it's because, for example, I'm in a military family, so I relate to military entrepreneurs. And so bringing your authentic self, but also understanding, for example, the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber have amazing mentor programs, but they're also pulling in military, they're partnering with Black and Brown founders. There is that just great intersectionality. But again, I think authenticity wins. So bringing your whole self into your business and promoting it as such is very powerful.
Lauren?
I would agree with that. I think that part of, and also just going back to your previous question, like people want to know your story and what you stand for and why you got into business. And so I would say, like, I wouldn't leave that piece out, because a lot of people want to support businesses when they understand why you started your business, what's your backstory, what are you passionate about, what are your values, and do those things align with your customers' values? So I would say to this question, I would agree with Elizabeth, which is really be authentic and be true. And when you start out, I think you can really establish what that is. And I think it's probably very surprising that customers really care about that, and they love to hear what your story is.
Yeah, I know I personally, as a consumer, want to know the person behind the brand and how they came to be a founder and why they're passionate about the business that they're running and the product that they created. So I totally agree with you. Last audience question. Can you list out the top 3 things you could do online in order to properly market your small business? Who wants to go first?
So I would say make that tough spend on the software that will help you do it efficiently. 2, be authentic. And 3, leverage every single free resource that's out there.
I would add that I would say just get on social, start experimenting with social, think about ways that you can sell on social, and then take advantage of those tools, email your customers, try to get that list of customers going so that you can have loyalty and email programs with your customers would be my top 3.
Robin, any last?
I would say, yeah, take advantage of social media. Definitely use it to communicate, and look to put ad dollars on social media to promote your business.
All right. Well, I think that wraps us up. Thank you so much to Square for partnering with us to get these key messages to our powerful small business community. And thank you to all of our panelists. As a reminder, these events are one of many. Our next event is on December 1st and will be on banking on your business, getting and keeping your financial house in order. That's all for us today, folks. And we look forward to seeing you at our next event in a few weeks. Thank you so much for joining us.